look, I have to be very careful because I'll be candid. I think this guy is deeply damaged, a buffoon, but I also don't want to elevate him. He is unelected. He does not know how this stuff works. And Donald Trump is being reckless with the most sensitive data. So I want to try and provide some assurance to the American people. But I also think our leadership needs to be very clear about not sugarcoating this. And Donald Trump obviously disrespects the American public. He thinks they're not smart enough to understand this and doesn't care.
The New York Times releases a hit piece focused on Elon Musk and a supposed war with China. Tim Walz backpedals on his comments regarding Elon Musk and Tesla, and the violent attacks on Tesla vehicles are now pushing more liberals to the right. A clear miscalculation from these angry Democrats. Now, we got a lot to go through today, guys. So let's go ahead and get down to it with this piece from the New York Times, shall we?
Elon Musk visited the Pentagon today.
It comes as the New York Times reports he was scheduled to be briefed on top secret military plans should the U.S. go to war with China. Our D.C. Bureau Chief Ben Kennedy is live at the White House with much more. Ben.
Today's Calvin, the White House is pushing back against this paper, saying the story is just not true and that Elon Musk was at the DoD to discuss Doge. Billionaire Elon Musk stopped by the Pentagon on Friday, where he was welcomed by Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth.
Mr. Musk, how was the meeting?
The meeting was closed door, and it took place with senior military leaders.
We welcomed him today to the Pentagon to talk about Doge, to talk about efficiencies, to talk about innovations. It was a great informal conversation.
But the New York Times cites U.S. officials in reporting the talks were set to be largely about China, and that Musk would be briefed on U.S. military plans for any war that might break out with Beijing. On social media, Musk said the paper is pure propaganda, adding, "I look forward to the prosecutions of those at the Pentagon who are leaking malicious false information to the New York Times. They will be found." As in the Oval Office today, Hegseth and President Donald Trump defended Musk, calling the story fake.
There was no war plans. There was no Chinese war plans. There was no secret plans. That's not what we were doing at the Pentagon.
I might add that I think Elon, if they ever wanted to do that, I think Elon wouldn't do it. I think he wouldn't do it. He wouldn't want to put himself in that position. But if you read what's out of the New York Times, it's such a dishonest newspaper.
And Trump also made clear he would not let Elon Musk get close to a potential conflict of interest, as China is a vital market for Tesla.
But of course, mainstream liberal media pounced on this opportunity because the message of the story doesn't matter as much because they know that an audience will watch it. They know that some people will just believe whatever they say, that the rumors are true regarding Elon Musk, and that the Trump administration is providing him with top secret information that's beyond his security clearance. Listen to how CNN's Dana Bash talked about this story.
The way in which the president emphatically denied, and said he even checked with the defense secretary and his chief of staff to make sure that Elon Musk was not getting briefed on war plans in China. Because it does really, first of all, the idea that he was so outraged that we would not really think that Elon Musk would want to do anything that would be a conflict of interest. I mean, has he seen what has happened in the first several weeks and month plus of his administration? There's not a big amount of transparency. It's very opaque, and there are a lot of potential conflicts of interest, but we don't know what we don't know. So we don't know how much how much information he has and how much access he has to those programs that are a direct conflict with his own business practices.
So Dana Bash wants to talk about transparency. Now that's rich because she's a part of the system that protected former President Joe Biden from scrutiny. Whenever people asked about former President Biden's mental acuity, CNN was there to basically say that he's all right. He's sharp as a tack. They also had to remember that Elon Musk got his security clearance under the same former president. And it's kind of funny that they're suddenly remembering that journalists ask tough questions when they didn't do the same under Joe Biden. Now there's also many instances where they obviously avoided the elephant in the room. I mean, just think back to the Afghanistan withdrawal, Hunter Biden's laptop and his connections to Ukraine and China. And none of us got an answer as to who owned the cocaine that was literally found inside the White House. Did y'all ever find out who owned that stuff? Who do you think owned that? Where was this version of Dana Bash and CNN while all that was happening, right? Now, what's also kind of humorous here is that they're citing a story from the New York Times with information from 5 anonymous U.S. officials. There were no names or any other details other than war plans with China. The sheer amount of propaganda pissed off Chief Pentagon spokesperson Sean Parnell. And so this is what he had to say about it on Fox News.
Yeah, on the record, that is completely fake. And let me show you this. This started with this New York Times headline, and they've since changed it. But Musk set to get access to top secret U.S. plan for potential war with China. This is egregious. This is fake. The New York Times should retract this story. 5 anonymous sources. I've been on bilat calls with the secretary. I see how hard he's working to implement the president's agenda and pursue peace through strength. This type of garbage from the New York Times undermines that process and undermines our mission. It shouldn't happen at all. Elon Musk is just coming over here for a visit. Again, he's an innovator. This is a guy that shot a rocket at thousands of miles an hour that's thousands of pounds. And as it landed back on the Earth, it was grabbed out of midair by a giant robot arm. Yeah. We want a guy like Elon Musk in the Defense Department to help us come up with creative solutions to the problems that we face in the day. But this article is ridiculous. It's fake, and I can confirm that on the record.
Now, I also have to ask the obvious here, guys. How were they even made aware of these top secret plans? The concept of top secret means that only a few select people are granted access to it. So this would include the president, the secretary of defense, and a few high-ranking generals for sure. But the article from the New York Times discussed it as if these anonymous sources had already seen it. Well, guys, the great wealth transfer is in full effect. Our freedoms are being stolen, guys. Credit card companies are out to get us. And if you don't understand the game, well, you end up getting played by the game. Now, if you're anything like me, guys, you know, you were probably out of shape, maybe in debt, living paycheck to paycheck, and just feeling like the system is just completely taking advantage of you. I remember for a long time, I could rarely ever get any time to spend with my wife. And through trial and error and through a lot of pain, I figured out how to gain freedom and also lose a lot of weight and actually get in shape. And guys, I'm gonna be honest with you, that was a game changer. To no longer be living paycheck to paycheck, figuring out how to get the credit cards to pay me, the power of a strong credit score. I pay thousands of dollars less per year for the same house as my neighbor just because my credit is better than his is. And this is not to brag. I mean, but this is the truth. The banks are literally taking advantage of the poor. It's like the people who can least afford it, they're charging the poor what is like unofficially called a poor tax or a tax on the poor. I mean, I'm now at a point where, you know, like, number one, I don't pay for credit cards. In fact, credit card companies pay me to use their cards. And I figured out how to build a lifestyle that is just ultimately very, very healthy. I lost a tremendous amount of weight and I put on a lot of muscle. But when I was struggling, I wish I knew people who knew these things. So anyway, I decided to create a community of like-minded people who are also interested, just like me, in living better. So if you guys want to join my community, it's called the Liberty Pursuit Network. It is brand new. Come on over. I'd love to have you guys and join like-minded people. Be positively motivated by others who are also on the same pursuit. So I'm going to leave a link for you guys so you can join me over on the Life Pursuit Network in the description down below this video. So check it out, guys, and let's not be a victim of this great wealth transfer that is taking place right now. Now, I want to go back to Governor Tim Walz here for a second, okay? Because he proudly talked about Tesla stocks going down, even though many of his constituents have a vested interest in the company. The pure hatred that the left has shown for Elon Musk is now backfiring. Tim Walz was even forced to say that he was only joking about Tesla stocks. Sure you were. No one believes you're lying, but and that Republicans take things too literally. Yeah, okay. Now, before I play this clip, guys, did he forget about what he said about President Trump talking about a bloodbath? If anything, it's Democrats who take things way too literally.
What can we possibly do about Elon Musk? Because it's not right.
It is not right. And this guy bugs me in a way that is probably unhealthy. And but I have to be careful about being a smartass. I was making a joke. These people have no sense of humor. They are the most literal people. But my point was they're all mad, and I, said something I didn't, probably shouldn't have about a company. He is agreed. So I make the case. They're all butthurt about the Tesla thing, but they don't care the disrespect they have shown to employees at the Minneapolis VA who care for our veterans, and they fire them. They don't care. So we will have the conversation about efficiency in government and about doing that, but none of us believe for a second they're thinking about this. Oh, we fired everybody that's dealing with Ebola. And then he went into the Oval Office wearing a hat. I don't ever want to hear anybody talk about decorum and respect or that. Wearing a hat, coming in there, richest man in the world. Again, this maybe is just me. If I'm the richest man in the world, I'm like out on the streets handing out the money. It'd be fun as hell just to help people out. Go help people out. Not this guy. Not this guy.
It's easy to understand why Kamala Harris didn't win. She was able to find a running mate that was a little bit worse than her. There's also a lot of irony here, as they were the party that sent out billions of dollars to everyone else but the American people. So to say that he'd give out cash if he was the richest man on earth is really laughable, because he wouldn't. But these comments from a guy like Tim Walz is really turning off some liberals, which proves the point that they're now their own worst enemy. Something that was discussed by Gad Saad on Fox recently. Take a look.
Why has the left completely gone insane?
The architecture of the human mind, Will, is such that most people don't seek some objective truth, but rather they've evolved their reasoning to simply win arguments, right? So if Elon Musk was on my team, then he was a great hero. Once he joins the other team, I lose all objectivity, and now he's a Nazi because he's no longer on my team. So, for example, if Donald Trump were tomorrow to announce that he has eradicated cancer, the left would simply say that he is a terrible human being because he's not permitting cancer cells from fully flourishing and reaching their maximal potential. So it's got nothing to do with the truth, everything to do with tribalism.
Gad, we've had to become familiar with the idea of projection over the last several years. Almost every sin the left has accused the right of committing are sins they've harbored inside themselves and then outwardly displayed, whether or not that's been their belief in science or their adherence to censorship. And here now we've seen that for years of decrying domestic terrorism, now they lean in, laugh, and in some cases celebrate what clearly is an ideological goal pursued through violence, burning down Teslas.
It is this hypocrisy that is pushing some to lean more and more to the right, which is a huge problem since the Democratic Party is already running out of ideas to counter President Trump and his popularity. So here's my question to you guys. Do you think that inciting violence and lying to the American people is the way to go for the left? Now, if you need more background when it comes to all this violence, I suggest that you guys check out a previous live stream that I did where I talked about it, with one congresswoman actually asking for people to take down Elon Musk as a birthday gift. You can't even make this stuff up, guys. Anyway, as always, appreciate y'all hitting the like button and subscribing. We'll see you next time.